There's no arguing with the seating, by the way. That's the one element that you just have to give me full control over. We're going to determine who's the best today. That's going to be where you come in. As far as the seeds go, my word is law, so we're just going to have to accept that. And this is, of course, also, unfortunately, limited to games that I have played. Or I have at least, you know, had enough experience with to pass judgment on. Meaning there's several roguelikes that probably merit inclusion on this list that are maybe even better than several of the games on this list that unfortunately did not make the cut because, like I said, I never actually played them. So, yeah, we've clearly got that limitation in place too. But otherwise, yeah, this is it's pretty thorough. Besides all that, I gotta say, I feel like I've gotten quite a few of the major players, if not most of them. I know Tumbleseed. Yeah, Tumbleseed's going to be an honorable mention too. That's a game that I continually regret not being able to get as into as I thought I would be. But oh yeah, I was gonna break down the top half here just to list them real quick, and then we'll scroll down and I'll let you see the full thing again. But we got the top half of the bracket is going to be led, of course, by FTL. Powerhouse FTL is going to be a difficult contender to beat, I imagine, today. Curse of the Dead Gods does make the cut here in the top 32. Inscription versus Risk of Rain should be an interesting matchup round 1. Darkest Dungeon 2 makes the cut along with Griflands. Noita versus Loop Hero here in round 1 as well. 9 versus 24. That should be a fun one. Spelunky 2, of course, and then Rogue Tower, a fairly recent release, is getting into the mix here. Crypt of the Necrodancer, one of my personal favorite roguelikes of all time. Going to be matched up against Monster Train, actually a roguelike that I kind of bounced off of. So I've got an interesting personal matchup there too. Darkest Dungeon is going to be going up against Nova Drift, another fairly recent release in a game that I've had plenty of fun with. Risk of Rain 2 going to be going up against Moonlighter. That's going to be an interesting one, I think, as well. There's a lot of Moonlighter fans, man. Moonlighter blew up. I don't know if y'all know that about that game. That game did well. So I would not be surprised to see a little bit more support for that than maybe we're expecting here. 10-pound regret. Thank you for the gifty. Welcome to the pile, Nicholas. Appreciate that. Good to have you. And that's going to bring us down into the second half of the bracket, led by Hades as yet another powerhouse there at the 2 seed. Going to be going against Nowhere Prophet in the first round. That's going to be a tough matchup for Nowhere Prophet, I gotta say. Nowhere Prophet's a great game, but that's going to be a hard one to win. Rogue Legacy 2, another very new entry, of course. A sequel to an existing entry on the list, is going to be matched up with one of the older roguelikes / roguelites on the list, actually, in Nuclear Throne. Oh, don't be dropping frames for me now. Come on, buddy. Let's keep that green bar. You scared me. You're going to be good, right? Literally just got the web technician out for this. Don't ruin my roguelike debate. I know we don't need frames for this, but I want them. For the love of God. I think we're good. Okay, man. Woo. Anyway, where'd I leave off? Nuclear Throne. Slay the Spire. Honestly, probably seeded too low at seed number 7. That's the kind of what am I trying to say? The parity in these matchups is looking pretty good, considering the fact that we've got a game that good ranked that, low, quote unquote. Then Neon Abyss, another very recent release, one that I probably should have spent a little bit more time with because I remember actually liking that game quite a bit. Neon Abyss is going to make it there as well. The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Speaking of games that probably deserve a higher seed than they got. Goodness. I mentioned it in the chat, but you know the bracket is stacked when you got Rebirth at seed number 10. That is pretty crazy. And it's got an interesting first round matchup too, going up against Vampire Survivors. I think it's the favorite, certainly. But Vampire Survivors obviously got a lot of hype recently, so we'll see how that goes. And then, speaking of powerhouses, yet again, one that I consider maybe to be a favorite for the entire tournament in the form of Dead Cells. Easily, I mean, even without getting into the debate of things here, easily one of the best roguelike games ever made. And then Rogue Book, yet another fairly recent release that I happen to like quite a bit. I think has got a lot of potential and did make the cut here for our top 32. Getting down to our final 3 matchups. It's going to be Dicey Dungeons, a game whose soundtrack I think is maybe in the top 5 soundtracks I've ever heard in my life for a video game. It's extremely good, and I highly recommend listening to it if you haven't already. Chipsell crushed it with the Dicey Dungeons soundtrack. Game's good, too. And then Into the Breach, the second game by Subset. That's the team, of course, behind FTL. And one would probably immediately think after that, FTL, wait, isn't that the game that you seeded at number 1? And Into the Breach is number 19. Yep. It sure is. That's my personal take, but I know and that's the first thing I expected to see there, Medea, the fact that Into the Breach is pretty underrated by a lot of people, and probably myself included, but that was unfortunately another one that I kind of bounced off of pretty quick. Kaitzande! I need everybody to give a big bear clap, please, to my sister. That's my IRL sister right there, Kaitzande, who just was promoted to a leadership position. I don't know how much I want to say about it, Sydney. You feel free to say more about it if you like, but she absolutely crushed it. Well done, Sydney. I'm very proud of you. Congratulations. She's the best sister ever, by objective measures. If we did a bracket of all the sisters of all time, she would be the number 1 seed and would just destroy everybody. She's president of the United States. You got it. Wow, yeah, good guess. On the nose, right out of the gate. Where to leave off? We got Into the Breach, right? And then, of course, final 2 matchups down here in the bottom. We got Spelunky HD. I don't know if I should specify that. I assume people know what I'm talking about when I just say Spelunky. And World of Horror. An interesting entry into this list, I'll certainly admit. A game that I wouldn't immediately peg as a roguelike, but apparently a lot of people do. Also a good game, though. World of Horror was quite good. And, you know, I'm gonna vouch for it when the time comes. I'm a little confused by the labeling there. But it does, I guess technically it qualifies. Anyway. And then our final matchup here. Enter the Gungeon versus Rogue Legacy. I think that's going to be one of the tightest first round matchups. I honestly don't know who's going to win that one. Kaitzande! Oh, you didn't need to do that. Thank you, Sydney. Appreciate the 5 gift. Welcome to the pile, courtesy of my IRL sister, everybody. Thanks for that. Bear hugs for him. So yeah, that's it. Let's go ahead and zoom back out so you can see the full bracket again. That's what we're looking at today. We're gonna go through each matchup. I got these soundtracks loaded up and ready to go. Oh, you're not late, Queen. You're just in time. You're just in counting time to get started here. So let's begin. I got my picture-in-picture ready to go as well for extra information on the games as we get to them. Let's do this, man. Let's begin the great roguelite debate 2022. And it begins by fading out the golden key. As nice as the golden key is. And we begin with our very first matchup of the day. Actually, we're going to let the golden key play out. It's earned that. It's earned that at least. Let's get way up here to the top. It's too far. There we go. Oh, I also got to start the tournament, I just realized. Start the tournament. It begins. We are officially underway, ladies and gentlemen. Let the science commence. Let the polls open. And let's begin the best roguelike / roguelite 2022 debate. Not games released in 2022. You get it. I don't need to explain it further. Here we go. Round 1. FTL versus Curse of the Dead Gods. Now, of course, you don't need me to talk about FTL. You know about FTL. It's our number 1 seed. It's maybe one of the best roguelikes ever made. Subset games. I've spent hundreds of hours with FTL. Come back to it multiple times. Endless replayability. Just an absolute classic. And we'll start the poll there. And on the other side, of course, we got Curse of the Dead Gods. By the way, if you're looking to vote in the poll, it's just begun. We're using the official Twitch chat poll feature. So you have to have chat open in order to participate. We'll run these for 2 minutes per poll here. And let's give the fair shake, of course, while we're voting, to Curse of the Dead Gods as well, whose soundtrack we'll hear in just a second. Curse of the Dead Gods, a game that honestly fully deserves its place in this list. As low as it is, and to be honest with you, I was debating its actual placement down there, only to realize that it almost certainly was going to get stomped, regardless of which of the top 5 that it went up against. But this game is pretty damn good, man. It's got a lot going for it. Isometric action roguelike. Very interesting mechanisms. The curse mechanic that's going on with this game is really interesting. It's fun, man. I recommend checking this out. It's got the unfortunate caveat of definitely not being as good as the games that you can directly compare it to, like Hades and like even Dead Cells to an extent. That being said, it's still pretty damn good. It's still pretty damn good. Unfortunately, though, as you can probably hear in my description of it, it's not best roguelike ever good. It's simply worth your time. I think that's the best descriptor I can come up with for this game. It's worth checking out. Absolutely. So there you are. FTL versus Curse of the Dead Gods. The poll is closing. Get your votes in now. And winner by an expected margin, 96 to 4%. FTL will be moving on. Congratulations to our number 1 seed, FTL. Not surprising to many people, I imagine. 96 is also 69 backwards, so that's pretty great. Yeah, good point. The winner is FTL. And there's our first round in the books. This gives us a great opportunity to hear the music from all these games as well, which I'm looking forward to. But that is Curse of the Dead Gods out. Say goodbye, and we move on to our next matchup. Let's go ahead and get this zoomed in up here as well. Let's show you what we got up next. Round 2. Round 1, match 2, I suppose I should say. Single elimination. It's brutal around here, man. Yep. You get one shot. Otherwise, we'd be here all day. Yeah, I don't know. I think a double elimination bracket would probably take like 6 hours. Inscription, ladies and gentlemen. One of the newer releases on the list. A lot of people would more than likely seed Inscription quite a bit higher than I have. A lot of people, I think, like this game quite a bit more than I did. It is extremely impressive in many, many ways. I think my opinion of this game is a little bit tainted by the fact that I didn't really get hooked by the main gameplay loop. The construction, or the composing of your deck, and then the way the actual game worked was a lot less exciting and a lot less appealing to me than the story of Inscription, which is absolutely backwards compared to how I typically consume games. Lord Urk, thank you for the 4 months, by the way, appreciate it. I think I should probably go for my descriptions of both of the games before I open up the polls as well. I think I might have swayed the voting a little bit more than I actually needed to for FTL to begin with. So let's talk about Risk of Rain real briefly before I open up the poll as well. And then we can keep talking about both. Risk of Rain, of course. Let's get the proper soundtrack going on with this as well. Risk of Rain. Release November 2013. One of the older entries on the list, of course, one that has now a sequel on the list as well that came out a little bit more recently. But Risk of Rain is, as a 17 seed, probably kind of a sleeper pick here to go a little bit further than you might expect. It's unfortunate that it's going up against FTL in round 2. More than likely, well, if it wins this round, of course, don't let me get ahead of myself. But Risk of Rain is fantastic, man. Risk of Rain is an extremely good game. Another platforming action roguelike. Not sure why I stopped the trailer there. My apologies. So you can see what's going on with this one. Yeah, we'll be starting a poll in a second here. A VIP resub needs your attention. I did miss your Mendo the Warrior 97 months. Mendo, my bad. Thank you. My apologies. My brain's working overtime right now, managing all these windows. Okay. So with all the information in play here, and Brachioridus returning for 16 months, I think we now begin our second vote. Inscription versus Risk of Rain. It's a tough one here, man. This is definitely a 16 versus 17 matchup. The seating, by the way, was entirely just my biases. This 1 to 32, this was all me. So feel free to argue that to your heart's content. But let's begin. 2 minutes on the poll here. Again, we're using the official Twitch polling system, so you got to have Twitch chat open and just look up at the top there. It should provide you an option to vote. Or you can also simply type vote. And then I believe it's either, well, you know what, just click the thing. I don't know how to do the typing vote thing. That is an option if you can figure it out. This one I am expecting to be down to the wire. Inscription, man, like it's extremely impressive. I want to give it more credit than I gave it initially here. But at the same time, I also agree with the way the voting is going right now. If I had to pick only one, it would probably be Risk of Rain. Not even the sequel. Risk of Rain is that good. Is it vote 1 or vote 2? Okay, yeah, thank you. Here, hold on. Let me see if I can do this. Vote 2. That did work. Okay, yeah, so that's another way to do it, apparently. If you just type /vote and then 1 or 2 for either the first or second option, that'll do it. Watching this trailer video makes me want to play it. The music, too, man. Like, dude, Risk of Rain is... Again, it's looking like that it's going to match up against FTL here in the second round. And if that weren't the case, I would suspect Risk of Rain might go a little further into the tournament here. It also might surprise me and beat FTL. That would be pretty crazy, but yeah, man, that's a strong contender for sure. Last call here. If you'd like to participate in the voting, Inscription versus Risk of Rain, final few seconds. And it looks like, after all is said and done, it will in fact be Risk of Rain. Moving on. Certainly a much closer battle that time, with a final tally of 64% of the votes. Risk of Rain has defeated Inscription as our first upset, technically, I guess, to move on. And there it is. Comparing Risk of Rain to Inscription with Coalescence playing in the background is just wanting Risk of Rain to win. I played them in order, damn it. We played the Inscription music too. I'm trying to be balanced. I'm trying to be a fair and unbiased moderator. But this is also, a lot of this is entirely just based on my opinion of things, so I suppose I'm not really doing the greatest job of that, am I? Speaking of my opinion on things, I certainly have some opinions about this one. Now, here's a heck of a matchup as we move on to the third of our first round contenders. Darkest Dungeon 2. Still in early access, which makes this seating perhaps a little too high for the moment. But from what I've seen of Darkest Dungeon 2 so far, I think there's a lot to be excited about. It's been very good and has a lot more potential to get even better. Soundtrack, of course, kicks ass. You don't need me to tell you about Darkest Dungeon 2. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Love this team. Very excited for what they're going to bring to the table for the rest of this development. But on the other side of this one, we do have a worthwhile contender. Sorry, I just got to hear this more before we move on. It's just so good. This is, speaking of creating some bias, I can't help myself. It's so good. It sounds so good. How can I stop this? Oh, man. Setter! Thank you for the 34 months. Welcome back. Okay. Okay, that's a suitable point to move on. Let's go ahead and swap over now to Griflands. As mentioned, another game absolutely worth your consideration here. Griflands is terrific, man. We, of course, played an entire sponsored campaign of this. It was like a couple of years ago now, I think, wasn't it? But maybe a little less than that. Another Klei game, Klei Entertainment, one of the absolute best indie developers of the last 20 years. Full stop. Holy shit. Klei's track record is incredible. If you have not, let me give you a quick breakdown of the Klei Entertainment Company, the releases they've put out. I want to get the list up just so I make sure I'm not missing anything. Listen to this goddamn list. Starting with N+, by the way, which is very good on its own right. N+ is great. You got Shank, Mark of the Ninja, Don't Starve, Invisible Ink, Oxygen Not Included, and now Griflands. Like, holy cow, that is a hell of a list. This team has just continually knocked it out of the park, basically since their inception. Like, Klei is maybe top 3 indie dev of all time. They're incredible. Yeah, and it's such a wide variety of genres as well. They're not like lumped into one category of games. They can do it all. And Griflands, speaking of doing it all, does quite a bit. Card battler, deck building roguelike, RPG elements, interesting characters, interesting story, beautiful artwork. Like, it's unfortunate, again, that this is a game that had to be seated this low, because Griflands is so good. It's so good. So we got another interesting matchup here, man. Let's see how it goes. We'll keep the Griflands music playing just out of convenience. But here's the vote. In match 3 of round 1, Darkest Dungeon 2 versus Griflands. Again, we'll have the official Twitch poll up for this. So you can type either vote 1 for Darkest Dungeon 2 or /vote 2 for Griflands, or simply click the option in the poll as it appears right now. Oh, the first 2 games voted on. The very top of the bracket there, we've got, there it is. You got FTL versus Curse of the Dead Gods. Again, yeah, you'll need the /vote and then either 1 or 2 for the vote this time. Darkest Dungeon 2 versus Griflands. It's an extremely close race here, man. Wow, yeah, this is far and away the tightest race we've had so far. Neck and neck. Halfway through the poll. Get your voice heard here. If you got an opinion on this one, your favorite game is absolutely going to need the help. This is, wow, yeah, this is dead even. This is incredible. Very happy to see this. It's honestly impossible to tell who's going to win right now. This is amazing. Just actually 50-50 the whole way through. I guess in a tie, I have to be the tie-breaking vote, right? That's... Well, speaking of bias again. This is nuts. For actually the last maybe 45 to 60 seconds, I swear it's just been at 50 to 50. 50% to 50% with votes coming in the whole time. Holy shit, I can't believe it. Last call, get him in now. It's just absolutely... They can't... We can't make a determination. What's it gonna be? Oh, wow, at the last second. It looked like it was gonna be tied 88 to 88, but by one single vote at the last possible moment, it is Griflands that will be taking it. It says it's 50% to 50%, so I might even have to input that as the official score here, with Griflands being our winner. My goodness. And Darkest Dungeon 2, the upset in round 1 is going to fall to Griflands. Wow. Absolutely the upset of the bracket so far. That's right. That's right. Submit scores. Griflands wins. Oh, damn it. I missed my perfect drop-off opportunity there. Well, we say goodbye to Darkest Dungeon 2. My goodness, I can't believe it, but we stick with the results. Absolutely. All right. Moving on to our fourth matchup of the day. Ooh, we got it. I think this is going to be another close one, man. Although maybe a little less close than I thought. We got Noita. We got Loop Hero. Let me get these ready real quick. One of my favorite games to come out in the last 10 years. This is Noita. Noita, please play Noita if you have not played Noita yet. Unbelievably impressive. Every pixel is procedurally generated. You hear that and try to process it, but can't really fully grasp it until you play the game. It's so fun and so unique. The wand construction system is extremely satisfying. There's so much in this game. If you like secrets in games, if you like unearthing and discovering like hidden tomes and translating languages in game and trying to really dig deep and find like the biggest secrets that other people haven't found, this is the game for you. Noita offers that in spades. It's an extremely impressive product. I highly recommend Noita. And there's my bias introduced there. However, on the flip side, I also particularly enjoyed Loop Hero. Loop Hero is a lot of fun too, man. Not to be outdone, I also highly recommend this. Very different experiences. These are really only comparable in this context. But Loop Hero is a lot of fun too, man. Much simpler. Much easier to pick up and play, I think. Loop Hero is much more addicting, I'd say, than Noita. Well, that's not necessarily fair because you can end up going on like a 7-hour run in Noita before you realize it. What am I trying? The appeal to Loop Hero, I think, is in its approachability. Yeah, that's the word, Yamal. That's what I was going for. It's a lot more approachable than Noita. It's an easier recommendation, I think, for a lot of people that might bounce off Noita a little faster. So there's audiences for both of these games for sure. I'm just a lot more excited about Noita than I am about Loop Hero. Loop is finished for hero, actually. Wow, yeah, thanks. Didn't know that. So there we go. Breakdown for both of these games. Again, they're both great, otherwise they wouldn't be on the list. But only one's gonna make it. Let's find out what it's gonna be. Noita versus Loop Hero. Again, you can either click the option here in the official Twitch poll, or you can simply type /vote1 for Noita or /vote2 for Loop Hero. Let's do it. Loop Hero is also published by a very consistent indie publisher, Devolver. Indeed. There's another mark for it for sure. Devolver has got a heck of a track record as well. I personally, I would not be surprised to see a lopsided result here. I won't necessarily say which way yet, although I'm sure you can guess. I think that both of these games deserve to move on. I would certainly love to see a 25 versus 24 in round 2. And wow, that's a lot closer than I expected it to be so far. Okay, so it might actually happen. Noita is pulling away a little bit here, but Loop Hero getting a lot of love. Loop Hero getting a surprisingly high turnout. I got my finger on the scale on this one. I won't lie to you. Yeah, I have more than likely swayed the vote enough here, which is a lot of the reason why I'm also keeping the Loop Hero video and music playing. Ethereal, thank you for the Prime. Welcome on back. Thanks for the 5 months. Appreciate it. Last call here. If you'd like to get in on the voting, /vote1 for Noita, /vote2 for Loop Hero, or you can simply click the option in the Twitch poll. Noita pulling away here at the end. Looking like it is indeed going to take the victory. I feel this is correct. I'm loving seeing the amount of Loop Hero support. It deserves it for sure. But I think ultimately, I think we know where this one's headed. With a final score of 55 to 45%. It will be Noita moving on to round 2. And we say goodbye to Loop Hero. A worthy entry in the list for sure. Glad to give it its time in the sun. But now it's gone! And we move on. And you know what that sound means. I mean, this one, yet again, talking about a game that more than likely needs no further explanation from me. Number 4 seed in the bracket. Sequel to one of the best roguelikes of all time. Probably one of the best action platforming games ever made by humans. It's Spelunky 2. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And we're going to give its contender a little bit of a chance here. In Rogue Tower. Hold on, quick OST swap. Yep. There we go. Rogue Tower, man. Let's talk about Rogue Tower for a bit, because I know this might be the only time we get to talk about Rogue Tower. It's very good. Give Rogue Tower a chance, man. Rogue Tower, it's a simple-looking game, but if you like tower defense at all, plus a few roguelike elements, you're going to have a good time with this. Malf and I and a lot of the other members of the NLSS crew dumped probably 10 to 20 hours into this over the last couple of months. Extremely impressive, especially for the size of team involved in this. It's got a lot of systems in play. Or I shouldn't say systems. It's got a lot of elements, I suppose. A lot more than you'd expect, as far as like different kinds of weapons, different buildings. It's fun. It's a good time. But it's going up against Spelunky 2. This is, I don't know about this one. I think maybe it might just be best to rip off the Band-Aid here. So let's Let's get it started. Don't forget about Oogie. Also another big benefit to playing Rogue Tower. You get Oogie. But yeah, this is perhaps one of our more lopsided first round matchups here. Absolutely, Adolf. Yeah, I mean that felt weird to say, but if you like tower defense, Rogue Tower's where it's at, man. It was a good time for sure. Highly recommend it. A little over a minute here to vote. And if you'd like to participate, we got the official Twitch poll open up. You just gotta click vote, or click the radio button and then click vote on whichever option you'd like to choose. /vote 1 for Spelunky 2, /vote 2 for Rogue Tower. It's closer than I thought it would be too, to be honest with you. Yeah, we saw the 96-4 result for FTL versus Curse of the Dead Gods. This is quite a bit less lopsided than that. I think there's maybe a contingent of folks who aim to sway the voting in a certain way, which, you know what, more power to you. We got to keep things interesting here. Or they just love Rogue Tower and think it's better than Spelunky 2. More power to you. Not looking like it's going to be enough this time, though, unfortunately. I legit personally prefer Rogue Tower. There you go. Yeah, no, that's a perfectly valid opinion to contribute. I appreciate it. That's why we're here. That's why we're performing this extremely scientific study. Thank you, Crazy. I know. I'm glad this is going so well. I'm having fun with this for sure. I should stop voting in these. I haven't played most of them. Hey, you're still allowed. There's no rule that says you can't. But there it is, as expected. With perhaps a much closer score than we expected to see. But with 79% of the vote, it will indeed be Spelunky 2 moving on. And that's the last we'll see of Rogue Tower. We get to hear this banger one time at least. That's nice. That's good. All right. Speaking of bangers. Dude. Oh, boy. Here we go. Now, this is... I gotta say, this is... If we didn't already have what was about as close of a matchup as we could possibly get, I would think it was going to come here. Because this is going to be close. Crypt of the Necrodancer. As mentioned previously, one of my personal favorite roguelikes ever made. This game is fantastic. If you haven't played Crypt of the Necrodancer, you are just missing out, my friend. Listen to this shit and tell me you don't immediately want to play this game right now. Just bangers after bangers after bangers. Rhythm roguelike as well, by the way. This is a rhythm game where you're moving to the beat of the music, if you weren't already aware. Makes it particularly challenging, especially if you're not the most rhythmic person in the world. Often overlooked, you can load your own music into Necrodancer. Also true. Another point for Necrodancer. Special shout out. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Shout out Cadence of Hyrule as well. Shout out lovely Momo. Played the oboe in Cadence of Hyrule. Necrodancer's it's a powerhouse, man. Especially at Seed 13. This is a sleeper pick, dude. This game. Baer Chef. So good. However, on the other side of this matchup, we got a good one. It's going up against a tough opponent here in round one. That's Monster Train. Another fairly recent release. Monster Train. Another card battling roguelike. Fantastic visual effects and graphics in this one. Fantastic artwork in Monster Train. Another game that I unfortunately did not get into nearly as much as a few of my peers, but I still see several of my friends boot up and play a few rounds of Monster Train every now and then. It's got that staying power. It's got lasting appeal, insanely high amount of replayability. I like Monster Train more than Slay the Spire even. I've heard that from several people. I know there's a lot of folks that are still really into Monster Train. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of support for this one either. I like both enough that I'll abstain on this vote. Damn, yeah, there you go. Monster Train Online is fun. I haven't actually ever seen that, but I've seen you can do like cooperative matches with your friends, or like it's this mode where you can see your friends on the left side of the screen. It's a race, right? Yeah, so you can go up against your friends and you can see the progress they've made on the left side while you're going through. Yeah, that's neat. That's fun. I like that as well. This is gonna. I have no idea who's gonna win this. I could definitely see this going either way, so this is going to be a fun one. Let's find out. Let's go Necrodancer versus Monster Train. We're going to do a vote 1 for Necrodancer. We're going to do a vote 2 for Monster Train. Polls open for 2 minutes. Vote now. Either way here, man, I would not be surprised. Both of these games have massive audiences that absolutely love it. Both well deserving of those audiences as well. Could absolutely go either way. And immediately we see basically the same split that we were seeing for our Griflands Darkest Dungeon 2 matchup. Necrodancer and Monster Train neck and neck in the first third of voting here. This is going to be tight. Let me get some more music going here. This is going to be close, man. Again, /vote 1 for Necrodancer, /vote 2 for Monster Train. You got to have a space between vote and the number. Lionheart. 25 months on the pile. Thank you very much for the Prime sub. Welcome back. Get a few bear hugs in there while we're voting as well. Thanks for the subscription. Thanks for all the resubs today. Appreciate it. I'm having fun with this. Glad y'all are too. Geez, this is crazy. I'm so happy we're getting votes like this. This is incredible, man. Yet again, all the way to the very end here, we're seeing basically a 50-50 split. What are the top games to get on this Rogue sale? Well, we're basically determining that right now for you. Here, anything that you see on this list right now, I'll give you the full look again. If you see any of these games for sale, buy it. Literally any of them. Oh my goodness, and yet again by a single vote. Holy shit. That's incredible. Someone sniped it again. It's probably the same person. Just waiting in the wings to cause chaos. It will be Crypt of the Necrodancer moving on with yet another 50-50 split. Crypt of the Necrodancer wins by a single vote. If you were ever told your vote doesn't matter, you weren't in the Baer pile roguelike debate. Every vote counts. And Crypt of the Necrodancer will move on to face Spelunky 2. Ooh, that's going to be a heck of a matchup there in round 2. But we do say goodbye to Monster Train. And we say hello to yet another possible favorite in the bracket here. Now, Darkest Dungeon 2 may not have been long for this tournament, but the OG, Darkest Dungeon 1, Come on now. One of the best PC RPGs ever made. Absent of the roguelike qualification. Simply one of the best PC RPGs of all time. Now, I'm a little biased. I'm just a tiny little bit of bias on this one. But I don't know, it's a pretty widely accepted fact. This game is just unbelievably good. The real emotions that were brought out of me through my multiple playthroughs of this game, and I feel like a lot of people can deeply empathize with that. Real pain, man. Just devastation and elation can result from this game. It's perhaps needing no more description than that. So let's at least give a fair shake then to its competitor here in the form of Nova Drift, which in its own right is actually quite good. This is another very recent release here in Nova Drift. Overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, as you can see, and absolutely deserving of it. This game's a lot of fun, too. Action roguelike, bullet hell space shoot 'em up. All kinds of amazing synergies in this game. Huge variety of potential builds and ways to approach it. It's fancy asteroid, yeah, basically. But, you know, it doesn't really make it any less fun. It's a good time, man. I know Nova Drift is, again, if a game's on this list, it's worth checking out. Oh, hi, Stanley. And things that pair well with food. Whoops. That's why I drink San Pellegrino. Where the hell did that come from? Okay. Anyway, thanks, Stanley. Thanks for the update there, buddy. Let's go ahead and get the poll started. Darkest Dungeon versus Nova Drift. Let me give you your backing track here while we're at it. I have a feeling I know where this one's gonna go. But again, shout out Nova Drift, man. Fun game that I'll almost certainly play more of at some point. Apparently Stanley Tucci's in it too, so that's pretty cool. What was this list based on? I don't see the last spell on it. Seems way better than Rogue Tower. This is the seeding 1 to 32 and the games included on this list are pretty much just my picks. Like first of all, I limited what I was going to include to games that I have personally played. So of course that's going to rule out several options that more than likely were worth considering here. But also just some games I just elected not to include for one reason or another. Mostly like, you know, your roguelike classification if you want to get really worried about that. But yeah, for the most part, the games here are limited by my experience. So the games included and the seating. I think it's fairly comprehensive still, though. I think we got the majority of what we need to have in here. I gotta vote for DD because it's one of my favorite games ever, but Nova Drift does look like something I should try. Yes, that pretty much sums it up for me. Nova Drift is definitely worth a check. It's a very good game. And it's getting some votes. Yeah, no, yet again. This is one that I expected to be quite a bit more lopsided than it actually has ended up being. And is almost certainly as a result, yet again, of, you know, well, first of all, they're two very, very different games. But second of all, there's almost certainly just people in the chat that would absolutely prefer to play more Nova Drift over playing more Darkest Dungeon, which makes perfect sense. Well, there we go, though. That'll pretty much do it. As expected, Darkest Dungeon will be moving on with 80% of the vote here. And Nova Drift will see a first round exit. Whoa. Right, there we go. Moving on. Another powerhouse. If you thought the first one was good, oh, baby. Oh, baby. Yeah, you're welcome, babe. Risk of Rain 2. Baer Chef. Delightful. Shout out Chris with the soundtrack. Crushed it yet again. Risk of Rain 2, sequel to much beloved Risk of Rain. Out of early access this year. Going through early access development since mid-2020. Just a sensational game, man. So it's so fun. Risk of Rain 2 is so much fun to play. I mean, it doesn't need much more description than that in my mind. I get completely sucked into these Risk of Rain 2 runs. I can end up going for 3 to 4 hours on a single run and not even realize it. Similar to Noita in that respect. With the DLC to boot now as well, yeah, not even considering the latest DLC release, which makes it even better. Risk of Rain 2 is just, I can't recommend it enough. As a 12 seed here, man, God, we got so many sleeper picks in the mid-range. Risk of Rain 2 is so good. There's my piece there. Not to be outdone, though. Not to be outdone. We've got a suitable contender here for it, man. I mentioned in the beginning, Moonlighter actually has a pretty sizable audience. There's a lot of people that love this game. Moonlighter came out mid-2018. Action roguelike as like the main gameplay loop, but there's also this extra bit of like shop management going on with this game, which ended up being a lot more appealing than I thought it would be. Definitely recommend checking out Moonlighter as well. I think they even might have come out with a big update to that game fairly recently. I like Moonlighter more. I dislike RR2 as much as I do because of the hype, but I got bored of it way faster than Moonlighter. Which actually I wouldn't class as a roguelike. No, we can't do that. We can't start classifying things as whether they are or aren't roguelikes. If it's on the list, it's a roguelike, goddammit. No, none of that debate. Moonlighter, absolutely fantastic. Risk of Rain 2, absolutely fantastic. Both of these games, I would love to see move on. I'm not even biased, really, one way or the other for this particular matchup. These are both great. So without further ado, let's vote. I'll zoom out to show all the matchups so far. By the way, I saw somebody ask that earlier. We'll do that once we get this voting started here. So it'll be /vote 1 for Risk of Rain 2, /vote 2 for Moonlighter. 2 minutes. Poll starts now. And here's your quick look at how the bracket has proceeded so far. FTL with a dominant performance over Curse of the Dead Gods. Risk of Rain 1, managing to beat out Inscription. Griflands pulled it out by a single vote over Darkest Dungeon 2. Noita was in a close one with Loop Hero, but managed to pull out the W. Spelunky 2 going up against Rogue Tower, which had quite a bit more support than I think we even expected. And then Crypt of the Necrodancer, another single vote victory, manages to pull out the W over Monster Train. And just barely, we finished up the voting on Darkest Dungeon versus Nova Drift. And we're now here in Risk of Rain 2 versus Moonlighter, which you got a little over a minute to finish voting on for this one. Again, it's /vote1 if you'd like to choose Risk of Rain 2, /vote2 to vote for Moonlighter, or you can simply click the button and vote in the menu. Noita versus Loop Hero isn't fair for Loop Hero. There's definitely some first round matchups that were unfortunate. Some games that might have made it a little deeper. I think Monster Train's kind of in that same boat. Monster Train with a different matchup might have fared a little better. What was going against Spelunky 1? That was Rogue, or sorry, no, that was, oh, we haven't seen Spelunky 1 yet, have we? Yeah, we haven't seen it yet. That'll be coming up later. As we wrap up this one, I think a result that I could expect. I was hoping this one would be a little closer, to be honest. But this doesn't surprise me too much. It will indeed be Risk of Rain 2. Moving on with 66% of the vote. As we say goodbye to Moonlighter. Again, as with all the games on this list, a game that I highly recommend checking out. It may not have moved on, but it's absolutely worth your time. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun. And decent showing for sure. 34%, certainly not bad. So that's going to be the top half of the bracket. There's our first half of round 2 matchups to look forward to. Quick little preview of that as we move down into the second half of the bracket and begin what is most likely the most lopsided matchup of the bracket so far. Ladies and gentlemen, a game that probably doesn't need any help from me. Lauded as one of the best. This is going outside of the roguelike category here. We're talking game of the year accolades. We're talking like game of the decade from some folks. Hades had a strong case for the #1 seed. An extremely strong case. In fact, I'm still debating it in my head. Just an absolute behemoth in this bracket. You talk about games that check all the boxes, man. You talk about being at the top of your game in every department. Everything. Art, music, voiceover, gameplay, replayability, characters. It's all 10 out of 10. It deserves every ounce of praise that it has gotten. It's got fishing, for God's sake. I know. Hades is... It's an easy favorite. I would be shocked not to see Hades go deep into this bracket. So let's at least give its competitor a chance here to make its case. And that's going to be Nowhere Prophet. Now, give me a little time here, because I want to sell you on Nowhere Prophet. While this is a game that I bounced off of when I initially played it, Nowhere Prophet is really, really good. It's another card battler, another deck building roguelike. Really, really nice art. It's an art style that I struggle to like identify with any other particular thing. I'm trying to think of like what the closest looking thing to this is. My brain is going to This War of Mine, I suppose is the one I want to compare it to. It's got some It's got some, what am I trying to say? I'm not doing a good job selling this one. Just say that out of the gate. The deck building in this game is good. That's what I want to say. I'm trying to come up with a fancy way to say it, but the cards are well balanced and there's a good amount of variety, and like the progression and building of the deck is very satisfying as you go. And the gameplay in this one is unique as well. You saw a quick screenshot there of how it works. But this whole system that they've got in play of the 4x3 row or 4x3 grid, it introduces a lot of very interesting mechanics. Nowhere Profit's pretty solid, man. Yet again, an inclusion on this list merits a look for sure. If you like card battling roguelikes, Nowhere Profit's a good time. I recommend checking it out. But we do need to choose only one. And unfortunately for Nowhere Profit, its opponent is it's Hades. That's going to be tough. Polls open now. We'll go for 2 minutes here. /vote 1 to vote for Hades. /vote 2 to vote for Nowhere Profit, or you can simply choose the radial option in the menu. Yeah, that's... I don't know how long we're going to have to wait on this one. Oof. That's one of those lopsided early matchups, for sure. Will it beat the first margin? Yeah, I suppose that's what's left to determine here. It is managing to do so at this point. Shout out to the Nowhere Profit faithful. I see you. Whether you be a contrarian or whether you genuinely hold that opinion. Nowhere Profit. Getting a little love at least. Soundtrack's great too. I mean, you can hear it right now. The soundtrack really got me a lot more into this game than I expected it to as I was playing. A little one-sided there, hell yeah. Hopefully Peglin moves up the list in the future. I was hesitant to include Peglin. Peglin's definitely on the honorable mentions right now. I think when it comes out of early access, it'll more than likely move up the ranks a bit. But didn't seem worthy of inclusion for the moment. Last call here if you want to contribute to the landslide. But it does look like we've determined a winner here. It will be Hades moving on by a massive margin, as expected. Congratulations to Hades, moving on to round 2. All right. Now, okay. We go from lopsided. Oh, geez, sorry. Whoops. We go from lopsided to perhaps yet another one of the closest matches we'll see. In a fairly recent release. Here in Rogue Legacy 2. Of course, we got some recency bias going on here, more than likely. As we've been playing Rogue Legacy 2 on this channel quite a bit. It's really impressed me. I've gone on record as saying that I was not the biggest fan of what I saw out of Rogue Legacy 2 in early access. Now, however, having played quite a bit of the full release of the game, it's reminded me of what made the first game so much fun. And they've just improved on those things considerably here with the sequel. Yeah, if you haven't checked this out yet, if you were on the fence about diving into Rogue Legacy 2, especially if you were like me where you were not as impressed with the early access offering, check it out again. Definitely play it again. It's a good time. It's worth it. It's worth a look for sure. That's Rogue Legacy 2. However, like I said, this is a tough matchup, man. This is a very tough matchup for Rogue Legacy 2, as it's going up against one of the cult favorites of roguelike releases. all the way back. I want to say that I don't think this is right. I feel like Nuclear Throne released much earlier than this. Wasn't this like 2012 or 2013 that this initially came out? Old school release. Brought to us by the folks at the now defunct Vlambeer, who were responsible for several high-quality releases over the last decade. It was in early access for a while. That's right. That's right. So that must be reflective of the 1.0 release. Another killer soundtrack. Gameplay extremely satisfying. This still holds up, dude. Even just watching this right now, I feel like I could boot up Nuclear Throne and still have a blast. Nuclear Throne is terrific. Probably underseated, in fact. Or seated a little bit lower than it should be. Nuclear Throne has an argument to be up there, maybe that top 15. Probably not top 10. But it's I don't know. That's why we're having the debate, right? It's possible. So this is an interesting one, man. Yet another matchup that I could see absolutely going either way. I think we got a lot of Nuclear Throne faithful in the chat today, too. So let's see how it goes. Let's open this poll. That's a /vote1 to vote for Rogue Legacy 2. That's a /vote2 to vote for Nuclear Throne. Vote now. This is I have no idea what to expect out of this one, man. This could completely go either way. Hearing this music again has been great, though. This is such a killer soundtrack, man. And once more, as though we are attempting to make it happen, we see a dead even split. 50 to 50%. This is crazy. Keeps happening, I know. It makes me really happy because that means that even our first round matchups were pretty well seated. That's good to see. We've got the, lopsided ones, of course, but we've already had this is our third matchup in the first round that has been a 50-50 split and is looking very much like it will indeed be decided once again by a single vote. So if you'd like to have your voice heard, if you want either of these games to keep on fighting here today, you make sure you get that vote in right now. Last call, /vote1 for Rogue Legacy 2, /vote2 for Nuclear Throne. Last chance. Yo, shout out Sleep Cycles on the trailer. That's my boy. We're getting down to the wire again here, dude. Ah, the music's so perfect for it. Final few seconds. Who's it gonna be? Dead even again. Oh, at the last second. What a swing. With Nuclear Throne up by 2. At the very last possible moment. 5 votes jump in at once for Rogue Legacy 2. Wow. I think that's a bit, despite the seeding here, I think that might be considered an upset. My goodness. And Nuclear Throne is no more by a vote of 51 to 49%. Demanding a recount already. Hi, Councilman Zach. Yo, it's Bisnap as well. That's all my buddies in the trailer. That makes me happy. What's up, Snaps? All right, well, that is going to do it, unfortunately, for Nuclear Throne. We say goodbye to that, and we move on to our next matchup in the bracket. At the 7 seed, appropriately, we have Slay the Spire. Yet another big favorite in this list. Possibly deserving of an even higher seed than it has been given. One of the best deck building roguelikes ever made. This has become... You know a game is good when it more or less sets the bar for a specific genre. We continually, at least I continually make direct comparisons to Slay the Spire now when I see games in the roguelike deck builder genre. Like, this is the bar. This is the bar those games are trying to meet. And you see a lot of like carbon copies of the specific gameplay mechanics that Slay the Spire brought to the table. Whether that be the overworld, the Ascensions system, the actual deck building gameplay borderline, like it's cream of the crop, man. One of the best mobile roguelikes too. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. This game plays great on your phone. It's phenomenal, man. It didn't invent the roguelike deck builder, but goddamn, it's a good one. Yep, exactly. The map alone is used a bunch, right? Exactly. Yeah, that by itself is worth consideration. So, yet another powerhouse here. Going up against Neon Abyss. Now, let me go to bat for Neon Abyss here. Really fun. Neon Abyss, I remember putting this one on the back burner because I wanted it to have... I want to say it was a mix of wanting a little more content and a little more variety in what was going on. But what I played of this is very, very fun. You can see on screen like the insanity that can ensue, but it feels controlled. It's tight. It's satisfying to move around. Soundtrack's a banger. Neon Abyss is great, man. A very, very good game in its own right. Again, not the most directly comparable titles, unfortunately, outside of the context we're presenting them in here. Because, of course, they both play very, very differently. But I had a great time with this one, man. And just like any other game on this list of 32, is one that I would wholeheartedly recommend you check out. It's extremely good. All right. Let's do this. Slay the Spire versus Neon Abyss. That'll be a vote 1 for Slay the Spire or a / vote 2 for Neon Abyss. 2 minutes on the poll. Let's vote. Just got here. How was the seating decided? It was pretty much just me, Weemered. I put this all together last night with the help of my mod team. And again, this is, as I've mentioned a few times, this list is limited to games that I personally have played / experienced enough to pass judgment on. So more than likely missed a few games that probably merited consideration just because I haven't actually played them myself. Honking coming. If I warn you, that's fair, right? That feels like a good balance. Nice middle ground. Snake RX was one that was mentioned several times. I did leave that on my honorable mentions list. I felt like it was a pretty likely candidate for a first round exit, even though I did have a pretty good time with it. I did play Fights in Tight Spaces, yes. Also fairly good. Another one, though, that more than likely would have just been left on the honorable mentions. Pretty solid, though. Well, not too surprising here. I think this is about an expected result. It'll be Slay the Spire with the overwhelming support. Moving on from round one here. Neon Abyss. We'll take a first round exit. Slay the Spire, yeah, absolutely one of the favorites in the tournament here, so not too surprising to see it move on pretty confidently here in round one. With a final tally of 91% of the vote. It'll be Slay the Spire. Moving on to round two. Oh, we got that perfect transition. Damn it, I missed it. All right, there we go. Perfect transition to yet another powerhouse in the bracket. I guess I have to Google more than that, don't I? Isaac Rebirth. Yet another game on this list that needs no introduction. And I'll say it again, you know the bracket is stacked when Rebirth is a 10 seed, man. This is just one of the best roguelikes ever made. Endlessly replayable. Come on, man, it's Isaac. You don't need me to talk about it. It's Isaac. It's a classic. Meanwhile, on the other side of the bracket, or on the other side of the matchup, I guess I should say, fairly new entry into the list. One that has gotten overwhelming support over the past few months since it's been released. A game that continues to get updates on a really frequent basis, actually. Developers have been hard at work keeping the content engine churning for Vampire Survivors. Now, this is unfortunately still feeling like a bit of a lopsided affair. It is going up against The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, after all. I will say, though, I mean, again, shout out Vampire Survivors being an instantly accessible $3 action roguelike. That's a pretty tough few boxes to check there, man. WTF Baer Isaac is your 10th seed. I know, dude. I mentioned it a few times. Look at our 1 through 10, though, man. I mean, I know it's debatable. FTL, Darkest Dungeon 2, Noita, Spelunky 2, Darkest Dungeon, Hades, Slay the Spire, Dead Cells. We got a lot of strong contenders on here, man. It's making for some interesting first round matchups. Isaac is better than most of those easily. Well, when you run your bracket, B-Rex, then you can seed it there, all right? God damn it. I got a feeling how this one's going to go, though. So let's do it. Isaac versus Vampire Survivors. Pentachest! Oh, that might influence some people. Let's start the poll. Nice. That's going to be a /vote 1 if you'd like to vote for Isaac, a /vote 2 if you'd like to vote for Vampire Survivors. We'll do 2 minutes. Vote now. See how this one pans out. Lots more support for Vampire Survivors than I expected out of the gate. Okay, that's making it a little interesting. Love to see it. Shout out Vampire Survivors, man. Shout out to the little guy. The little guy that's got nearly 100,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. No, I haven't played Gunfire Reborn, Rex. I know what that is. That's, or I think I know what that is. Did you play that recently? Or Bisnap has been playing a little bit of this as well, right? If I recall correctly. Yeah, no, this looks pretty good too. Yeah, I should check this out. Bisnap plays it a lot, yeah. Kind of like Risk of Rain 2. Oh, nice. Yeah, I should check this out. Another fairly recent one. If Isaac gets anything over 25% versus Slay the Spire, I'll fight you all. Oh, we're looking ahead, huh? That's going to be an interesting matchup too, yeah. I mean, hell, Isaac sacrificing 30% of the vote to Vampire Survivors is a pretty unexpected result here, so I don't know, man. We might see some interesting votes coming up. But with 71% here in the final seconds, it will be the Binding of Isaac Rebirth, as expected, moving on over Vampire Survivors. There it is. Possibly our final lopsided matchup for the day. We've got ourselves, yet again, I feel like I keep saying this, but certainly is not any less true in this circumstance. One of the best roguelike games ever made. I cannot gush enough about Dead Cells. When Dead Cells first released, the very first iteration of Dead Cells was really, really good. Since then, it has gotten probably upwards of like 10 major updates / DLC releases, each one of which has made the game noticeably better than before. It's unbelievable. Dead Cells just continues to blow me away, both with its level of quality and the level of commitment, understanding of what makes the game good, and passion from the developers. Like, you can tell they love this game. I think Motion Twin likes this game more than anybody that plays this game likes it, which certainly bodes well for the people that play the game. Still getting updates as well. He's still continually receiving updates and has another major update planned. It's unbelievable. Please play Dead Cells if you have not already. If you're within the sound of my voice and have not yet booted up Dead Cells a single time, that is something you need to fix. Just simply one of the best roguelike games ever made. Absolutely phenomenal. And on the other side, another fairly recent release. One that I ended up playing for a sponsored stream that I played for longer than the sponsors paid me to play it because I liked it so much. It's Roguebook. Beautiful artwork. A really neat grid map system going on, as you just saw there in the trailer. Delightful soundtrack. Adorable characters. It's pretty solid, man. Again, I'll mention simply inclusion on this list merits consideration in my mind. Another deck builder, yep, absolutely. Notably, among the dev team, as you just saw there in the trailer, Richard Garfield, creator of Magic the Gathering. If that holds any sway for you. Honestly, a very impressive and I think underrated card battling roguelike. It's got a tough matchup ahead of it here today, though. Let's begin the vote. This will be Dead Cells versus Roguebook. It's going to be a vote 1 for Dead Cells, a vote 2 for Roguebook. You got 2 minutes. Polls open now. Quick peek at our overall bracket performance so far for those of you just joining us. If you'd like to see how it's gone through round one. We got some really interesting matchups going. Oh, did it not open up? My bad. Sorry, I thought the poll went up. My bad. My bad. Let me get it going again here. Sorry. Oh, is it open? Is it not working? Hold on a second. Oh, it is open. Yeah, refresh if you don't see the poll. It is going. It just didn't show up on the top for some reason. If you vote, it'll count it as well. If you just do your /vote1 or /vote2, it'll count it toward it. Yeah, sorry, not sure what happened there. There you go. Okay. Dead Cells is good, but Roguebook is so underrated. I feel the same. Yeah, no, I it's another reason why I might want to have considered having a consolation bracket to give games like this a slightly bigger chance to make it a little deeper, but we are determining the best of the best here, right? And so we unfortunately do have to make some sacrifices along the way. The Roguebook soundtrack is beautiful. Yeah, you're hearing it now. It's a great accompaniment. And like you say, yeah, it's not overwhelming. It's just it's a really nice supplement to the experience. I like it a lot. All right, well, there we go. And again, refresh if you haven't already, because apparently the poll is being wonky. If you couldn't see it this time. But with the final result, 90% of the vote, it will be Dead Cells moving on. Baer, with Twitch's introduction of multiple voting options up to 10, do you want to try to Chaos Edition after the results of the top 8 to split the vote 8 ways? Can we do that with polls as well, or is that only with the channel points voting, or channel points betting? I think with polls, we still might be limited to 4 options. Or no, it's only 5. We can do that with the top 4. We'll do the standard style bracket, of course, all the way through, but by the or at the very, very end, we can maybe do just like a final vote of like the top 4 just to see how that pans out. That could be fun too. All right. Back down here to the last few matchups of the bracket. Oh, gotta take my opportunity to jump in on the music. Nice. Perfect. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. You know what that's all about? No further explanation needed. That's Dicey Dungeons, baby. This soundtrack kicks fucking ass, dude. Like, I can listen to this thing front to back on loop all day long. Soundtrack absolutely slaps. And the game's pretty good too. Not to be outdone. We've got a hard carry, I think, in this circumstance, in the form of the soundtrack. But Dicey Dungeons on its own, man. Very fun. It's a cute game too. I really like how adorable it is. Hold on, we got to play one particular track though. This one right here. I got to hear it. I'm sorry. It's just I just can't not hear this when I start this soundtrack up. I love the humor in Dicey Dungeons. Absolutely, same here. Terry Kavanaugh, by the way, shout out Terry Kavanaugh. Well-respected dev. Put out, I want to say, yeah, Super Hexagon and VVVVVV prior to this. So shout out Terry. Heck of a body of work. Chip Zell as well, with the soundtrack that we're hearing here, who has also composed the soundtracks for, oh, come on, Baer. Damn it, I thought I knew this. Someone else can help me out here, I'm sure, with the other soundtracks that Chip Zell has composed. Oh, it's Super Hexagon, right? God damn it. Yeah, that's the one. Which is another great soundtrack. We just saw, of course. She also did one for Necrodancer. Nice, there you go. Danny B, of course, being the primary Necrodancer soundtrack guy, but also, you know, there were contributions from other artists. So there's Dicey Dungeons. Another deck builder of sorts. Dice builder, I suppose, if you want to call it. Going up against perhaps one of the most underrated entries on this list. Into the Breach. From the makers of FTL comes a new turn-based roguelike strategy game. Extremely unique. A game that shows you the enemy's moves and allows you to plan out around those. That's the core mechanic. One of the most unique strategy games I think I've ever seen. Gameplay-wise, I would have to agree. Yeah, it's got the edge over Dicey Dungeons gameplay-wise. I think mechanically and just, I mean, overall, I think it's the better game. But Dicey's just got it's got some wild card elements to it that may give it the edge. That's why I'm very excited to see how this one goes, because I know there's a lot of Into the Breach faithful out there that are unlike me, where I bounced off this one pretty quick. I know a lot of people got really into it. So let's see how it goes. Start the poll now. It'll be Dicey Dungeons versus Into the Breach. It'll be a vote 1/vote 1 for Dicey Dungeons /vote 2 for Into the Breach. Poll starts now. The strategy for Into the Breach is very engaging and so good. It's just, Subset is full of geniuses, man. I can't imagine making either of FTL or Into the Breach. Those games are just so incredibly well made, so intelligently constructed. Both so impressive. I expect this one to be close. But wow. Into the Breach. Kind of pulling away here. With over 60% of the votes so far, a little over halfway to go. 19th seed. Making a showing. Again, that's a /vote 1 for Dicey Dungeons /vote 2 for Into the Breach. Or you can simply click the option up in the menu there, top of the chat. This is exciting. Love to see it, man. Yeah, it looks like Into the Breach has got a pretty strong shot here. Dicey's respectable and its presentation is definitely top notch, but I think Into the Breach's crunchier gameplay loop is what's carrying here. Perfectly described. Yes. Yeah, no, I do. I stand by the assertion, or I suppose the conclusion we came to, that Into the Breach overall, certainly the stronger game, despite Dicey's many appeals and wild cards, wild dice elements. Right? Yeah, I see you. Okay, I get it. But it will be one of our few upsets here in round one. Into the Breach takes it with 59% of the vote. And we'll be moving on. And we say goodbye to Dicey Dungeons. Yeah, we got to rock out for a while there with that, though. That was nice. This is another great soundtrack, though. For as different as it is to the Chip Cell soundtrack, this is another great one, for sure. Speaking of great soundtracks, I was expecting a different song to play, but this works too. Speaking of great soundtracks, speaking of great games, speaking of fun, we got another top tier contender, y'all. A game that almost certainly requires no salesmanship on my end. It's Spelunky, ladies and gentlemen. Spelunky HD. Of course, the original Spelunky being the browser game made in 2009. This, the HD remake / re-release, put out for the Xbox 360 in 2013. One of my favorite games ever. I used to call this the perfect game. I mean, it used to be deserving of that title, pretty much. It still kind of is. It's phenomenal. Don't get much better than this. That's Spelunky HD. Going up against one of probably the more confusing entries to the list in World of Horror. This was, of course, a game that we played fairly recently on this channel. Is also very, very good. And technically a roguelite. Some horror elements to it. Primarily a kind of narrative navigation game. Almost has some like point and click elements to it. Also the only horror game on the list, which may give it a little bit of a nudge for some people. Yet another pair of games that are not really directly comparable outside of the context. How many horror roguelites are there? That's a great question. I suppose Inscription technically could be considered a horror game, right? Is Darkest Dungeon a horror game? I guess so. Technically, I don't know. This is really the only listed game that I feel like firmly fits into that horror genre. Darkest Dungeon, I suppose there could certainly be several arguments made for, yeah. Just grotesque horror love. I mean, okay, yeah, no, I see it. I see it. So here you go, then. As mentioned, it's probably one of the most interesting inclusions on the list. But again, as mentioned several times about this list, is definitely worth a check. You probably could tell just based on what you've seen of the trailer and what we've talked about of this game, whether or not you'd be into it. And if any part of this looks good, I definitely recommend checking out World of Horror. It's real solid. Let's get this going. It'll be Spelunky HD, or just Spelunky, versus World of Horror. That'll be a /vote1 for Spelunky, /vote2 for World of Horror. Vote now. I'm getting ahead of myself, man. I'm already looking onto these round 2 matchups and getting really excited. This is going to be good. And feel free to click the top Twitch menu option. We'll give you the radio buttons. Or again, /vote1 for Spelunky, /vote2 for World of Horror. Yet again, I'm surprised to see quite a bit more support for World of Horror than I expected. Look at this. That makes sense, Nexus. Yeah, that works too, for sure. Another great soundtrack here. I mean, this soundtrack, so fitting for the game, man. I loved it.
Do you have any idea where your father might have gone?
No, I don't.
Oh, shit. That's not what I thought that would be. I started playing a donkey video. Getting into the last few moments of the vote here. Get it tallied up now. Last call. But it does look like Spelunky will be taking the win. The final score of 70% of the vote. Spelunky HD moves on. Very good. All right. And we just get, man, we're getting spoiled with the soundtracks here today. Because following that up is the end of the Gungeon OST. And another fantastic game, man. Oh boy. And probably the matchup that I was most excited for. In fact, definitely the matchup that I was the most excited for. Here in round one. Enter the Gungeon. 2016 banger. Another Devolver published title. Bitchin' soundtrack. Very satisfying gameplay loop. A really good dodge roll. Developed by Dodge Roll Games, of course, you'd certainly expect it. Evil Uno! Thanks for the raid, buddy. By the way, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Happy birthday, bud. You've caught us at the very tail end of round one of our best roguelike ever debate. You're just in time to join in for the nitty gritty of it. Enter the Gungeon, man, just absolutely phenomenal. Continued to receive support over the course of its development for a couple of years and was made into a finely refined product that is one of the lower seeded powerhouses in the bracket. And you can pet the dog, so there you go, 10 out of 10. Going up against another OG of the genre. One that, of course, we've discussed a little bit already. Having been talking about its sequel just recently. But the sequel would be nothing without the original. Way back in June 2013, Cellar Door Games brought us Rogue Legacy. Just a fantastic title that I played hours and hours of back in the day. Sequel I'm having a great time with, but the OG was plenty of fun as well. Came out with a lot of extra content post-release as well. Made things even better. Yeah, this is really going to show you how much they visually improved the sequel too, right? You can see. It's crazy going back to some of these 2013 games and realizing just how much better looking the games are now, especially by the same teams. It's pretty awesome. But there it is. Your final matchup of round one. I'm expecting this one to be close, but I might be a little surprised by the results. We'll see. This is going to be a vote or slash vote 1 for Enter the Gungeon slash vote 2 for Rogue Legacy. Poll is open for 2 minutes. Vote now. And while y'all are doing that, I'm going to close some of these tabs up here that we don't need anymore. That was, let's see, we need to close Loop Hero. Get rid of Rogue Tower. And then this is, now we'll save that, get rid of this. Save that, get rid of this. This is not the official OST, is it? I just realized. Oh, no, it is. Yeah, we're good. I guess I just haven't heard this in a while. Just over a minute here. Let's check in on the results on this one. Yeah, that's a landslide. That's I was kind of hoping this one would be a little closer. I suppose Gungeon's got quite a few more folks excited about it than OG Rogue Legacy. Which it makes me happy then that Rogue Legacy 2 at least managed to make it to the second round. Nobody here played Rogue Legacy 1. It's too old. Come on now. We're not that old. Or we're not that young around here, I don't think. We got some old farts in the pile. Yeah, this is not... Oh, that's what's going on here. Okay, I see. Yeah, we needed to... Okay, well, anyway. Voting's almost done. Go back to the Gungeon soundtrack. Since very clearly we have established a victor. I think the pile's made its intentions clear as the voting closes out on this one. On our final round 1 matchup, it will indeed be Enter the Gungeon moving on with 80% of the vote. And just like that, round 1 is complete. Looking good. What's your biggest upset so far you've seen, chat? Which game were you certain was going to make it out of at least round 1 that has unfortunately fallen to the wayside? I think it's also time for a Baer stretch. Yeah, that's a good call. Oh, Baer stretch! Oh, man! Darkest Dungeon 2, Rogue Legacy, Nuclear Throne. Yeah, my goodness. Seeing Nuclear Throne get knocked out in round 1, that's definitely a shocker, man. That's a big upset. Darkest Dungeon 2 not making the cut either. Griflands at seed 25 moving on, man. Heck of an upset as well. And yeah, that game's still in early access, so we'll still have to see what the final result is there. Lots of heavy hitters in round 2, absolutely. This is getting exciting, man. All right. Let's get back into it. Angela Larrabee. Baer hugs from my mother. Everybody say hi, Mama Baer. Hi, Mama Baer. Baer hug. Let's do this. Back to the top, baby. All right. And when we get back to the top, we get back to this. And thankfully, we have all these tabs open already. Or most of them, anyway. Oh, where'd my FTL tab go? Darn it. Oh, well. There we go. Round 2. Match 1. FTL versus Risk of Rain. Of course, we've gone over our breakdown of all the games on the list now. So now it's just a matter of comparing the individual matchups. And of course, when we're talking about the number 1 seed here, you know we're talking about a favorite. FTL is just a classic, man. Just one of the most intelligently made games that I've seen, as described. It's so damn good. I feel like most people that play FTL have also played a lot of FTL, you know? Like, probably the average FTL player has played 50 plus hours of the game, if not much more than that. Give me a quick check, in fact, here right now, just for the sake of verifying this opinion. I'm currently sitting at a cool 90 hours of FTL Advanced Edition on this profile, which I honestly don't think is actually reflective of my total amount. 1,100, 163, 256, 406. Yeah, yeah, that's a lot of big numbers in there. So, Yeah, I think we got a lot of big FTL fans here. However, on the other side of this matchup, another great game, man. With another great soundtrack. If we have to see it go here, we're going to show it some massive respect, man. With Whisk of Rain, one of the true OGs of the genre. And another big shout out to Chris for the remarkable soundtrack. Yeah, both of these soundtracks are absolutely top tier. But here we go. Only one can move on. Let's find out what it's going to be. FTL versus Risk of Rain. That's going to be a /vote 1 for FTL, /vote 2 for Risk of Rain. You got 2 minutes. They're only going to get harder from here, man. I know it's already tough, but we're gonna be getting into some real difficult choices here. Risk of Rain is great, no doubt, but it should feel honored to just match up against FTL. My God, that's the level of competition we're dealing with, huh? Goodness. I mean, that's why it's the #1 seed, man. There's a reason. These are two games I want to see in the finals, honestly. I mean, yeah, argument to be made there. Both Risk of Rains made it to round 2, with one of them having a shot of making it to round 3, I think. Not being this one, unfortunately. But who knows? Might see another 100+ votes slide in at the end here. Last call. That's a /vote 1 for FTL, /vote 2 for Risk of Rain. Here we go. Yeah, they both got a tough matchup. I might be getting ahead of myself on that one. It's going to be interesting. We'll see. But yeah, not a big surprise here as the votes wind down. Can you give me the vote link so I can use it as a roguelike games list? Yeah, I can give you the bracket. In fact, here, let me just... Oh, whoops. If I just do this... Yeah, I believe this is all you need, is this link here. That should take you right to the bracket page. And there it is. As our final result. A good showing for Risk of Rain, certainly. Here in round 2, up against the heavy favorite of the competition. But it will be FTL moving on. Our first entry into round 3. All right, and now, certainly what I would consider an unexpected entry here into round 2. It's Griflands. Griflands will be going up against Noita here. Griflands is certainly a surprise. Beating out Darkest Dungeon 2 here in round 1. Lots of Grifland fans out there. I'm supposing almost certainly more so even perhaps fans of Clay Entertainment, which I certainly cannot blame you for. It's a solid team. Yeah, I think anybody that was filling out a predictions bracket for this one might have been a little thrown by this result. I am Griflands fan. It's solid, man. Certainly can't knock its inclusion here. Deserving of the praise, deserving of the hype. Griflands is finished for losing to Noita. That's odd. We'll see if it proves true. Because, of course, on the other side of this matchup, we do indeed have Noita, which I will continue to recommend as one of the most impressive and funnest roguelikes currently available. Again, unfortunately, a bit inaccessible, perhaps. Maybe not maybe not inaccessible, but more difficult to get into than a lot of the other games on this list. But if you can sink your teeth into it, it's going to give you a lot of good times. Very, very fun. Also very challenging. That might be another caveat worth considering here. Noita's tough. It's got a very high learning curve. Yeah, absolutely. So worth taking into account as well. But there we go. Let's open it up. This will be Griflands versus Noita. It's a vote 1/vote 1 for Griflands /vote 2 for Noita. Vote now. Couldn't get into Noita personally. Yeah, I've heard several of those accounts, and I understand it. I get it for sure. There's definitely parts of this game that are prone to turn people off to the experience. Or prone to turning people off to the experience. Noita is great because you can drink an entire lake. Very true. And often not considered as much as it ought to be. You can indeed consume an entire body of water. Not anymore. They patched that out? Damn it. Well, never mind then. It's not any good. 0 out of 10. You can't drink a lake. You still can with Iron Stomach. Okay, well, there we go. We got that at least. If you just need a perk now, right? Which, if that little conversation there didn't also entice you more to check out Noita, I would be surprised. Lowly Nickel. Thank you for the 15 months. Noita has the best secrets out of any game. I completely agree with that. Like, actually, of any game. I agree with that statement. Noita's secrets and like extra bonus discoverable content is actually like S tier. It's amazing. Bellametheus, right? That's probably it. Thanks for the prime. Welcome to the bear pile as well. Appreciate it. Get some bear hugs in there while we got the votes going. Thanks for the support. And it looks like this is where Griflands' Cinderella story comes to a close. As with a cool 69% of the vote. Oh, nearly. Oh, there it is. Hey, nice. That's going to be necessitating a chat full of nice as well. With 69% of the vote, Noita will move on over Griflands. An impressive showing for Griflands, certainly. Taking away 31% of the vote from Noita, moving on past Darkest Dungeon 2. A respectable showing. But that will be where the party stops. And we've got our first round 3 matchup. There's a little preview there. But we move on now to Spelunky 2. Yet again. And as was the case previously, I feel it extremely unnecessary to offer any further bias here, any further sway. However, this is actually, now that I realize it, this is a battle of 2 of my favorites for the tournament. Early on here in round 2. Oh boy. Oh, one of these has to go already? Oh, no. I don't want that. Can't they both move on? Can we have them? There'll be a combined entry through round 2. Wow, this is going to be tough, man. One of the all-time greats, Spelunky 2, up against just one of the most unique and fun roguelikes ever released. And hey, if it's got to go now, we at least got to give its soundtrack a little more time in the sun. We got to get the bangers going for a little longer at least. Oh man, this is going to be tough. My brother in Christ, you made the seed. I know. I knew this was going to get to this point eventually. I just didn't want it to be this fast. Oh, boy. All right. Here we go. That's a vote 1 for Spelunky 2. I know it's confusing. I'm sorry. It's just how it's working out. Vote 1 for Spelunky 2. Vote 2 for Necrodancer. Necrodancer 1-2, please. Can do. Can do. I can fulfill that request. This is going to be this one. Oh, yeah, there we go. We got to hear it, dude. At least one time, right? The all-timer. Just an absolute banger. Whoa, shocker. I just opened the vote for the first time. No way! Look at the Necrodancer crowd coming out. A strong showing. They just memeing us at this point? Holy hell. Necrodancer came to play, man. I think we might be swaying the vote a little bit with the banger. How's it looking? It's close. It's so close. Final seconds. Coming down to the wire. /vote 1 Spelunky 2 /vote 2 Necrodancer. Oh my goodness. Could we see another upset? There's no way. It happened. It's finished. It's final. The votes are in. Crypt of the Necrodancer takes it over Spelunky 2. Wow. Absolutely. The shock of the tournament so far. No way. I am floored. I actually can't believe it. We say goodbye to Spelunky 2 in round 2 of the tournament. My goodness. Well, looks like we're going to hear more of those bangers. That's it, man. About as close as we expected, but not quite the result I expected to see, certainly. Okay, well, there it is. And we move on. We move on to Darkest Dungeon. No more Darkest 2, or no more Darkest Dungeon 2 in the mix, of course. But still here. One of our absolute all-time favorites. One of the best PC RPGs of all time. One of the best roguelikes ever made. Darkest Dungeon. Going up against Risk of Rain 2. Whew. Whew. Another tough matchup, man. Another very tough matchup. Both games absolutely worthy of your time, love, consideration, and support. But boy, oh boy, this is getting absolutely to the point where I couldn't tell you, man. Especially as a result of last vote. I have absolutely no idea how this is going to go. But let's start it. That's a /vote 1 for Darkest Dungeon. And the /vote 2 for Risk of Rain 2. Music holds a lot of power. Apparently does, man. Yeah. We just saw evidence of that, certainly. What blows me away is the fact that the Necrodancer Monster Train vote was closer than the Necrodancer Spelunky 2 vote. That's pretty wild. I'm suspecting the music is actually playing a pretty large role in the voting. That being said, here, let's see how this does. Not to influence anything in any particular direction, but more so to give a fair shake to both things here. Oh, here, what if I give you the Risk of Rain 2 visuals coupled with the Darkest Dungeon main dungeon ambience? Really just confuse the hell out of you. It doesn't look like you need much of a sway in that direction, though. And it turns out Risk of Rain 2 actually needed a lot more help. As the vote winds down, again, /vote 1 for Darkest Dungeon, /vote 2 for Risk of Rain 2. But it's looking like as this one closes out, it will indeed be Darkest Dungeon. Moving on. So we still got one of the channel favorites still making its way through the ranks here. Oh, we're so close. Almost there. Oh, 68%. Boo. Whatever. There we go. And Darkest Dungeon moves on. Just play both OSTs at the same time. Yeah, there you go. All right, quick little preview of the top half of round 3 there as well. But here we go. Down to the bottom half of round 2. Feel free to use the !suggest command for that, Genome. Anybody else as well. If you got any roguelikes that you think deserve to make the cut here, we got the !suggest command in chat that'll allow you to input suggestions into a Google form that I pull from for future games to play on the channel. So feel free to use that as well. Yeah, One Step from Eden is another one that I definitely need to check out as well. But yeah, use the actual forum, not the chat for that. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Moving on to another favorite. As Risk of Rain 2 says goodbye. Time for our number 2 seed to make its return to the competition and remind us yet again just how much of a powerhouse it is, as once more it meets up with a contender that, while certainly impressive in its own right, may not even hold a candle to Hades. It's Hades, man. I mean, good God, this is gonna be a tough one to beat. It's just got everything going for it, man. And speaking of great dev teams too, I was singing the praises of Clay, of course, before, but man, look at fucking Supergiant Games back catalog. This team has been going hard for a while. You got Pyre, Transistor, Bastion, for God's sake. Supergiant's been knocking out of the park for a while too. Yeah, they don't miss. They are all reliable for sure. So, yet again, another reason why they're at the number 2 seed up there. And on the other side of this matchup, oh, hey, Co. It's Co Carnage. The other side of this matchup, we got ourselves Rogue Legacy 2, which has been impressing me a lot the more I play it, and again, reminding me of why I have so much fun with this series. An extremely addicting gameplay loop here in Rogue Legacy 2. They've improved quite a bit in every facet of this one, from the look and feel to the soundtrack, the lore. As little as I enjoy the lore, they certainly have put in some extra effort there as well. Did you know you were on the Steam page for Rogue Legacy 2? Oh, really? That's cool. I didn't know that. It's a great game. It's just not Hades. I mean, that's that is just kind of where we're at this point, right? So let's just, like I said before, I suppose we might as well just go ahead and rip this band-aid off. Here we go. That's going to be a vote 1 for Hades and a vote 2 for Rogue Legacy 2. 2 minutes are starting now. Let's see how this one plays out. Fuck, marry, kill, super giant, giant software, or an actual giant. Marry the actual giant. That just seems like a pretty helpful ally to have through the course of my life. And fuck super giant. I guess I have to kill giant software. Sorry, giant software. Does it still need to be 2 minutes, actually? Maybe not for this one, actually. Yeah, that's a fairly good point. Yeah, this one probably didn't need the full 2 minutes. But, hey, Rogue Legacy 2, again, we're getting more support for the underdogs than I'm ever expecting to see here. 20%. Well, it's pretty solid, man. Just joined how to vote. If you click the Twitch chat poll, very top of the poll there, with the drop down arrow will give you 2 options to click on and then vote that way. Or you can simply type /vote and then space 1 or space 2 to vote for Hades or Rogue Legacy 2 respectively. It's a /vote 1 for Hades, /vote 2 for Rogue Legacy 2. Final moments here. As expected. Again, a slightly stronger showing for Rogue Legacy 2 here than I thought. But we could see this one coming, I think. We saw the writing on the wall here. It will indeed be Hades. Moving on, and we say goodbye to Rogue Legacy 2. A strong showing for sure. Hell, beat out Nuclear Throne. So just for the sake of hypotheticals here, how do y'all think Nuclear Throne would have fared up against Hades in this matchup? You think it would have gotten any better than 20%? I feel like Hades is almost certainly still taking the W over Nuclear Throne. But, yeah, I think that might have been about the same result by the second round. Yeah, I know, okay. Would have gotten rinsed, yeah. So, all's well and good there, I guess. Oh, I still had that up, too, okay. Anyway, here we go. Moving on. Another very good matchup here. Man, this is one that you feel like would probably show up maybe like round 3 or 4. But we see it here early on in round 2. Boy, oh boy. This is a big one. Oh, my bad. I didn't actually fill in the result, did I? Sorry. 80-20. There we go. It's the Northern Lion round, right? Yeah. Holy cow. What do we make of this? Only one can move on. It's Slay the Spire versus the Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Wow. This... I was giving B-Rex shit for the Isaac seed, but seeing this pan out this way here for round 2 actually does make me feel like I probably seeded Isaac too low. Especially given how this first half has panned out. Man, yeah, this is wild that we've already gotten to this point. This is so hard because both are so good for different gameplay and reasons. Absolutely, yeah, no, this is... I could very easily go either way. Yeah, definitely the toughest choice so far. Man, there's so much to say about both of these. A lot of which we've of course already said. Slay the Spire, though, as we've mentioned. Absolutely a bar setter for the genre here. Noita over Isaac Baer. I mean, that's personally, that's where I've got it, man. I know a lot of people probably disagree with that. If I'm being honest about my own experience with these games, though, I definitely enjoyed Noita more than I enjoyed Isaac. Isaac is so goddamn influential, too. That's a great point. That's a really, really good point. That would maybe even merit Isaac's higher seating just based off of that alone. Outside of my own enjoyment of it, Isaac is just an extremely influential game. Speaking of which, let's give the Isaac soundtrack some time to dwell within your eardrums here. This is a very tough call, man. Yeah, same here, Penguin. That's another one of the reasons why I like Noita so much. All right. Well, here we go. There can only be one. Slay the Spire versus the Binding of Isaac Rebirth. That's going to be a vote 1 for Slay the Spire. Vote 2 for the Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Let it begin. I would be shocked to not see a 50-50 split out of the gate, and that is exactly what we got. Yep. Immediately, just over 100 votes for each. And we are dead even once more, man. This is great. I love seeing it. That's remarkable. Like, I'm simultaneously expecting it and not expecting it, because I'm like, it's hard for it to be exactly split, but it just keeps happening. We keep seeing 50% in each category. It was crazy. We haven't actually had a tie yet. I suppose, like I said, I might actually have to be the deciding vote in a tie. That doesn't really feel fair, though. Might have to do a recount, man. I don't know. Shit. See who's committed enough to vote for it twice, right? This is absolutely wild. This is dead even all the way through yet again. I guess it is fair. I mean, like, my vote still only counts for one vote, right? It just happens to be the vote at the very end, so might have to go that route with it. Use your lifeline and call NL. That's good. We'll just refer to his previously made roguelike tier list, right? And we'll just use him as the definitive source. This is insane, man. With nearly 200 votes apiece, still at 50-50. Final few seconds here. Get your votes in now. Here it comes. The moment of truth. And at the very last second, it will be Slay the Spire. Wow. Wow. All right, now let me go ahead and just get out ahead of this right now. That does mean that in our official best roguelike / roguelite ever debate 2022, we have officially knocked out the Binding of Isaac Rebirth in the second round. I'm going to go ahead and contribute part of that, in fact, probably a large part of that, to my seating it perhaps a little bit too low than we should have. Simultaneously, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, right? And the audience has spoken. Slay the Spire will move on with a very close race. And there we go. Listen, if you face the best game round 2, you go out round 2. Well, yep. We'll have to see, though, because as you can tell now, that's created a very interesting matchup there in round 3 as well. This is getting good, dude. This is getting real good, but we will say goodbye to the Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Wow. A game that many, many people would almost certainly still consider probably one of the best roguelikes ever made. And I still do, obviously. But we'll be falling out of contention here for us today. There it goes. Goodbye, music. All right. And we return to yet another powerhouse. Yet another big-time contender today. We're back to Dead Cells, boys and girls. Going up against a 19th seed that many would consider a sleeper pick. Most likely. And Into the Breach. One of the lowest remaining seeds in the bracket. A game that is criminally underrated by many accounts. Give Into the Breach a little bit more time here as well. Oh shit, what did I do with that? There it is. Into the Breach soundtrack, of course, also S tier. Absolutely fantastic music coming out of this game. Now, this is a matchup that I gotta say, I feel maybe a little lopsided. But I was pretty surprised by the round one turnout here. We'll have to see. It's Dead Cells versus Into the Breach. As our penultimate matchup in round two. Let's do this. It's going to be a vote 1 for Dead Cells. A / vote 2 for Into the Breach. Let's begin. We're going to need a loser's bracket after this. Yeah, it's feeling more and more like it would be interesting to see how a consolation bracket plays out for this. This has been very fun so far. Thanks for indulging me in this today, y'all. Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you're having a good time. It's fun to do stuff like this every now and then for sure. Losers bracket another stream, maybe. Yeah, I mean, this feels like something we may end up having to do again in like 3 or 4 years or something like that. Because of course we're gonna get new releases between then and now. We'll see how our opinions hold up, and then maybe have to do like a losers bracket next time too. Last minute of voting here. Dead Cells versus Into the Breach. One of the heavy favorites of the tournament here. Going up against an underdog with a lot of support. But it's in its waning moments. If your team Into the Breach, you got to make your voice heard now. It's a / vote 1 for Dead Cells / vote 2 for Into the Breach. Your final moments. Yeah, that's another good point for the double elimination bracket as well, Cello. The fact that we would get a lot more interesting matchups that way too. I mean, it's just fun to debate them one-on-one a lot of the time as well, whether or not we're trying to get down to like the very best. Just having these conversations of like Spire versus Isaac, or like Dead Cells versus Noita or something, which might actually still happen. Yeah, it's been fun for sure. Oh, it's a / vote. Sorry, APC. I don't know if I said that last time. But as the vote concludes here, that will indeed be Into the Breach saying sayonara, as Dead Cells has moved on. Our number 3 seed will take the vote. 62-38. Again, another very solid showing for Into the Breach. A respectable performance. Taking out Dicey Dungeons on its way to a round 2 finish. Nearly manages to net 40% of the vote against Dead Cells, which to be honest is a lot more than I expected. Yeah, that was a pretty good showing there for sure. So well done, Into the Breach. Subset Games showing up today. But here we go. Our final matchup of round 2. And we're bringing back one of the GOATs. The sequel, of course, not able to make it past round 2. falling short to Crypt of the Necrodancer in an earlier matchup. But we'll see how Spelunky HD fares. But of course, yet again, at this point of the tournament, it's kind of hard to anticipate your opponent not being a pretty strong contender as well. I think there's a lot of folks out there who very well may be tempted to vote on the other side here with Enter the Gungeon, which in its own right, man, is pretty fantastic. It's pretty fantastic. Both games with killer soundtracks. Gungeon, I gotta say, probably has the edge soundtrack-wise. There's a lot going for both of these titles, man. This is another very tough one for me. I honestly couldn't tell you what I expect from this. I've got my personal pick, of course, which is pretty obvious to a lot of people, I'm sure, but I could definitely see this going either way. Let's do it. Spelunky versus Enter the Gungeon in our final matchup of round 2. That's going to be a /vote 1 for Spelunky and a /vote 2 for Enter the Gungeon. Here we go. And Spelunky's last chance to stay alive in the tournament after seeing the upset earlier in round 2. Will Spelunky survive? Or will Enter the Gungeon move on to face Dead Cells in round 3? Oh boy. Wow. Early on here, we were seeing a heavy swing for Enter the Gungeon. My goodness. Especially considering, man, like I would think that my personal bias would have a little bit more sway here, but apparently not. We're doing this on my channel. We're still seeing this level of what am I trying to say? So much. No one cares about me. That's what I'm trying to say. They've all got their opinions. And you know what? More power to you. Baer, you're an old man. The kids love Gungeon. I guess so. Bullet! I mean, I get it, dude. I really do. I'm not too shocked by this. I'm saddened a little bit to see both Spelunky and Spelunky 2 be taken down. But indeed, it will be Enter the Gungeon, moving on by a considerable margin here. The final tally of 64% of the vote. Spelunky HD will fall and Enter the Gungeon moves on to round 3. Wow. I'm curious how y'all feel about the seeding of Spelunky and Spelunky 2 then. I felt fairly confident about placing them where I did. Certainly felt better about putting Spelunky 2 over Spelunky, which seems to have been fairly accurate. Gungeon should be higher. That's definitely seeming to be the case here. I think Gungeon might have deserved a slightly higher spot. Then again, though, I mean, when we're looking at the stuff that's above Gungeon, it's difficult to move it around too much. We're having a couple of Spelunky HD over Spelunky 2 opinions as well. That surprises me. Prefer HD to the sequel, really? 1 over 2 because 2 is a DLC for 1. Really? Huh. Okay. Always considered Spelunky on the same level as Isaac. So did I, really. Yeah, that's about where I had it. You never played Gungeon after the DLCs, Baer. Fair point. Yeah, I definitely had a limited experience with Gungeon, so that's probably contributing a lot to what I'm seeing there. Methyl. Thanks for the prime. Welcome back in. Thanks for the 10 months as well. Bear hugs, appreciate it. Is there a group that you deliberately but regrettably needed to leave out for the sake of this? There were a few entries that I had to put on, you know, like an honorable mentions list to bring it down to the top 32, yeah, but honestly, for the most part, those were all games that I think would probably have just been a first round exit anyway. So, wouldn't really sweat it that much. There's a look at the bracket. For those that are just joining us, wanted to see how things have played out so far. That's our first 2 rounds complete. We're down to our top 8. And it's going to get pretty difficult to choose from here. Of the games that did not make the top 8, which one do y'all feel still deserves to be in contention above the rest? Of the games that we don't see in our top 8 right now, Isaac certainly, yeah. Monster Train, Spelunky 2, yeah. Into the Breach. I think Monster Train getting knocked out round 1 is certainly a surprise here, but it definitely had a tough matchup. There were several tough matchups early on too. I don't know how you beat FTL. We might not, man. I mean, that's the thing. It's the number 1 seed for a reason. I'm pretty satisfied with this top 8 overall, though. Yeah, I think it's looking pretty solid. But let's get back to the top then. I mean, once you just hear these little ditties, you know. Then you know. All right. Can I scroll over to the right here? I don't know if I can. If I do this and then... Oh, there we go. You can just drag it around, along like that. Here, I can even zoom out a little more than that. Go like this. There, that's better. That's better. All right, folks. Round 3. Match 1. Our number 1 seed. Still almost certainly the favorite of the entire tournament. And one of the best roguelikes ever made. J Play Twitch. Thanks for the gifty. Blue Cadet, welcome to the Bear Palm. Appreciate it. Bear hugs, bear gifts. Thanks for the support. It's FTL. Going up against Noita. Oh, boyda. It's Noita. This is almost certainly still a matchup that just heavily favors FTL, despite the fact that we're already in round 3 here with it. That's just how much of a favorite we're dealing with, man. /vote 1 for FTL, /vote 2 for Noita. 2 minutes. Starts now. The Noita faithful out there, man. This is the time. If you wanted to make the run of a lifetime here, if you're looking for this Cinderella story, this is the one you got to beat. But I don't know, man. It's a tall task. There's so many reasons why FTL's our top seed. Noita, however, absolutely still worth considering here. I'm trying to think. I'm asking myself right now, if I could only play one of these games, like not exclusively play this, but if I had to decide not to play one of these 2 games for the rest of my life, what would I pick? And personally, that's actually really tough to choose. While, of course, I have a lot of love and respect for FTL, there's so much to do in Noita. And there's so much more variety and so many more possibilities for how a run can go. I suppose the same is kind of true of FTL, though. Oh, man. That's a tough choice. Broken vote. It's working for me. Try refreshing if the poll's broken for you. Down into our final minutes, though, and... Sorry, our final moments. And it does look like, as expected, FTL will indeed be taking it. A strong showing for Noita here today. Admittedly got some, I was going to say favorable matchups early on, but actually it was a pretty close result there with Loop Hero as well. But at the end of the day, it will indeed be FTL moving on. 65 to 35 FTL is our winner. That's a Baer F for Noita, absolutely, yeah. Honorable showing. 35% in round 3. But one's got to go. That gets us into our semifinals there. So FTL is our first entry in the top 4. And here we go, guys. Cinderella story still showing life. As we now have Crypt of the Necrodancer getting back into the mix here. Hold on, we got to get the bangers going again, right? It's half the damn appeal here. Necrodancer. Hold on. What other one do we need to hear from the Necrodancer soundtrack? There's particular songs I know we can't do without. So just in case this is Necrodancer's final appearance. Oh, Conga. Ooh, Conga's good. Where's Conga Boss? Conga Boy. I can't find him. Well, how about Coral Riff? That's also a good one. Oh, yeah. Also fantastic. Not quite Conga, but still excellent. Oh, Death Metal too, another fantastic one. Crypt of the Necrodancer is still kicking. With the upset over Spelunky 2. But in round 3, going up against its toughest competitor yet. 2 games that could not be much different from each other, outside of both being planted firmly in the roguelike camp. It's Crypt of the Necrodancer versus Darkest Dungeon. An all-time great. Not doing as much work in the banger department, I gotta say. Certainly a point for Necrodancer in that respect. Color of Madness has some bangers for sure. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. But here we go. Necrodancer versus Darkest Dungeon. That's going to be a /vote 1 for Necrodancer, /vote 2 for Darkest Dungeon. 2 minutes. Let's start. You want to hear Cove Battle? Done. A fitting backing track. Very good. Oh, yeah. I disagree. The Darkest Dungeon soundtrack is perfect for me who does a horror D&D game. It's perfect battle music. That sounds exactly right. Yeah. But here we go. In early voting, Darkest Dungeon takes a slim lead. 59 to 41. A very close battle so far. Again, /vote 1 for Crypt of the Necrodancer, /vote 2 for Darkest Dungeon. This is intense. This is close enough to convince me that there could be a swing at the very end. Lurkers in the waiting. In the rafters, ready to pounce. Luring the darkest dungeon faithful into a false sense of security until finally the moment is right. And the percentages swing. But as the meter falls, it does seem that Darkest Dungeon will manage to maintain the lead. Overconfidence, etc., right? But they're losing time. And in our final moments, it will indeed be Darkest Dungeon eking it out over Necrodancer. A strong showing for Necrodancer here, certainly in the third round, but not enough, unfortunately, to take down the powerhouse that is the original Darkest Dungeon. And it will move on to the semifinals. Oh, baby. And you can see that matchup already. That's going to be a good one. But that will finish our top half of round 3. And moving on down to the bottom half now. Oh, baby. Wow. Look at these matchups. Holy hell. One last shout out to the Necrodancer soundtrack. And Necrodancer as a whole. Well, that'll do it for that one. And now, we move on. Or we move back, I should say, to one of our tournament favorites, yet again. Sorry, just trying to clear out my tabs here. Nerve Agent. Thank you very much for the resub as well. Appreciate it. 3 months on the pile. It's Hades, ladies and gentlemen. Our number 2 seed for the entire tournament. And one of the absolute favorites to win it all. I mean, ... it's Hades. That's been more or less the argument for the entire tournament so far. It's like, I mean, the other games are good, but Hades is Hades. I mean, come on. There's a reason it's got all those accolades, man. There's a lot of good reasons, in fact. Of course, on the other side, though, I mean, come on. You got the game that beat The Binding of Isaac, man. Something to say about that, right? A pretty strong contender in its own right. Slay the Spire, man. Slay the Spire. I mean, ... it's Slay the Spire, right? Okay. Okay. This one's... I keep saying this. It's been true every time. And I absolutely feel the same about it in this circumstance. I can see this going either way. Hades still absolutely a favorite, don't get me wrong, but Slay the Spire beat Isaac. It's been showing up today. We got some Slay the Spire fans out there. Let's do it. That's a /vote 1 for Hades. /vote 2 for Slay the Spire. Only one can move on. Slay the Spire, probably one of the best roguelites of all time, but Hades is just one of the best games ever made. That's been the difference maker, man. Both, honestly, might even fall into that camp. Slay the Spire, I think could maybe be included in well, I don't know, man. That might be a bit disingenuous. I think it's pretty easy to say about Hades, not so much about Slay the Spire. But, boy, I mean, Slay the Spire is still just so damn good. Apollo with the hot take. The scorching hot take. Hades is not a good roguelike. Oh. Wow. He's right, though. I mean, he's saying what we're all thinking, apparently. What y'all are thinking. We'll see how the votes go. Yet another very even split here. My goodness. 50-50 once more. Has Apollo swayed the votes enough to knock a powerhouse out of the competition? Has he done it? The Hades faithful making a push here at the very end, but it's close. Final moments, /vote 1 for Hades, /vote 2 for Slay the Spire. You got to get it in now. It's going to be close. It's so close at the very end. But by the skin of its teeth, it will indeed be Hades. Moving on. My goodness. By 7 votes. What a matchup. Holy cow. 51 to 49%. It will be Hades moving on. Wild. And that will bring us to our final matchup of round 3 as we say goodbye to Slay the Spire, making an extremely commendable showing, getting knocked out by Hades in round 3. But that'll move us to our last matchup, as mentioned, here in round 3. And we're back to yet another powerhouse in the tournament. It's Dead Cells. Our 3rd seed. Again, of course, just one of my favorite games released in the past 15 years, full stop. Another game that could probably contend for just one of the best games made in a long time. Just exceptional, man. Going up against what I perceive to be the crowd favorite here. A game that has performed much better than I expected it to today. We got a lot of Gungeon folks in chat. Gungeon gang coming out strong, absolutely. This one could be a dead even split yet again, man. It's very tough to say. It's very tough to say what's going to happen here. Let's find out. Dead Cells versus Enter the Gungeon. Vote now. That's going to be a /vote 1 for Dead Cells. /vote 2 for Enter the Gungeon. What can you date in these games? A very important and relevant question. Nothing in either one. So, unfortunately, they're both 0 out of 10s by that metric, but you know, they can't all be winners, I guess. You can pet the dog in Gungeon. Yeah, I mean, that's about as close as you're going to get, I guess, to establishing a relationship. So maybe there's a sway there. Initial voting puts Gungeon out as a favorite here. Wow. A shocker so far in the voting for this round. As our number 11 seed, by, you know, an admittedly biased and potentially flawed seeding, is making a statement here, showing it deserves to be included in the upper echelon. Perhaps even now, making its way into the semifinals. Enter the Gungeon. Punching above its weight class today. I mean, ... it's Gungeon, right? Come on now. Final moments here. /vote 1 for Dead Cells. /vote 2 for Enter the Gungeon. Gungeon just keeps fighting, man. And in the final moments, it's looking like it's going to take it. I gotta say, that's a shock to me. But sure enough, as the voting concludes, Enter the Gungeon. Will take the win by a mark of 55 to 45. Gungeon moves on and will enter our semi-final round, going up against Hades. My God. I didn't want to sway the vote, but this should have been 90-10 Gungeon. Apollo, how do you feel about the seating here? You don't have to give me an in-depth analysis, but you feel like this is pretty fair? I know there's certainly some things you'd swap around on me. FTL number 1 is correct. Okay, well, we got that at least. That's good. We figured that out. Gungeon 11 is very not correct. There's some personal bias showing up here for sure. It's definitely created some interesting matchups in the first few rounds. There's our breakdown so far if you missed any part of today's voting. But hey man, this is a heck of a Final Four here. Not the Final Four I was expecting, but a Final Four that I could have predicted maybe in certain circumstances. Isaac, I think I seated a little too low as well, but again, I'll reiterate the fact that this was my, like pretty much my personal seating. So my experience with Isaac is a little, less intense, I suppose, than a lot of other people's. Spent a lot less time with it. I did not expect Spelunky to be knocked out in round 2. Yeah, both of them, in fact. Necrodancer and Gungeon. Both moving on beyond those games. There we go. All right. It brings us back to the semifinals. FTL versus Darkest Dungeon. Boy, oh boy. So now going back to that same question I was asking myself, honestly seems a lot easier to answer this time. Having said that, though, I'm not going to answer it, because I think the less I influence this vote, the better. And I would certainly expect, if my bias was ever going to influence anything, you would think it would happen now. But we'll see, man, because we are going up against one of just maybe the best games ever made. But which game is he talking about? You'll never know. Here we go. FTL versus Darkest Dungeon. It's a /vote 1 for FTL /vote 2 for Darkest Dungeon. Here we go. Our first semifinal matchup. I'm afraid to look. I don't know how bad it's going to be, but I think it's going to be bad. Oh, wow. Okay, there we go, man. I checked the poll against my better judgment, but it's close. Baer, my 1-year-old is waving at you. Hi. Hello, 1-year-old. And now the true test. Hold fast or expire. A small lead here halfway through. FTL managing to hold strong, but Darkest Dungeon giving it a run for its money. /vote 1 for FTL. /vote 2 for Darkest Dungeon. Oh boy. Swap to DDoST at the last second, right? Oh, I completely forgot to play that one too, didn't I? No! Get the influence in there! At the last moment! Heavy Darkest Dungeon bias all of a sudden! Non-scientific now, just vote DD! Last second push! We can do it! Come on, let's go! no! Vote 2! Darkest Dungeon! It's not enough. It's not enough, unfortunately. Despite my meager attempts. It will indeed be FTL. Moving on. A pretty damn strong showing here for Darkest Dungeon. As expected. But our number 1 seed continues to show why it has been placed at the top. And FTL will move into the finals. We say goodbye to Darkest Dungeon. And finally, for our last matchup of the day, we see Hades versus Enter the Gungeon. Wow. This is going to be tough. This is going to be tough, man. Maybe the toughest matchup so far. We've had some close ones. But boy, oh boy. I think this one might be neck and neck all the way through. The Gungeon gang is powerful today. That much is absolutely certain. But I mean, ... It's Hades. It's Hades, right? Hades nuts. Okay, I said it. I finally said it. It might be my last chance to do it, so I have to. Going up against Enter the Gungeon. Two of the strongest contenders in the tournament from the beginning. Two possibilities to win it all. Now finally meeting up in the semifinals. Who's it going to be? Hades versus Enter the Gungeon. / vote 1 for Hades. / vote 2 for Enter the Gungeon. Vote now. Boy, oh boy. I have a feeling where this one's gonna go. I feel like we got a crowd favorite today that perhaps felt a bit disrespected by the seating. And it seems that that was an appropriate feeling given the results so far. Having said that, check out where we're at right now. Just about halfway through the voting. And Hades still holding strong. With a significant lead here, in fact. Gungeon gang, now's your time. It's now or never. It's your toughest matchup by far. But can you date the bullets? Apparently that's the difference maker. As the pull wanes down and Hades holds a strong lead, it's looking like Gungeon may have had its last hurrah. As the final votes are tallied, it will indeed be Hades moving on to the finals. An extremely impressive showing by the Gungeon gang, but it's just not enough. As one of the favorites of the whole damn shebang has managed to take them down, Hades gets the W. Satirical Soul I got here just in time for ETG to be disrespected. Hey, man, top 4. Top 4, that ain't so bad in my mind. No disrespect here. Especially putting up such a solid showing up against Hades as well. So no upsets, unfortunately. Yeah, first versus second seed, and a little boring, I guess. But hey, it got pretty interesting up to that point, right? Will there be a third place vote? There should be, right? We should do that. Let's keep the Gungeon music playing while we just do that as a small consolation thing real quick here. Third place. Darkest Dungeon versus Gungeon. Darkest Dungeon, enter the Gungeon. Let's just do this third place vote real quick right away as a consolation. Just for the Gungeon folks to feel good. Or maybe get beaten by Darkest Dungeon as well. That'd be unfortunate. Let's give you an extra little dagger in the back. Our third place vote ongoing. That's a /vote 1 for Darkest Dungeon, a /vote 2 for Enter the Gungeon. Oh, it's more of the same. Oh no, it's a repeat. Poor Gungeon gang. It's close though. It's very close. Honestly, good either way on this one. Yeah, I feel similarly actually. Definitely feeling as though I have seated Gungeon far too low. And that will probably influence my seating of Gungeon should we do this again in the future. Definitely seeing the Gungeon gang show up today. Hey, it's getting close though, man. It's not over yet. Last call for our third place votes. /vote 1 for Darkest Dungeon, /vote 2 for Enter the Gungeon. This may be the last we hear of the Gungeon soundtrack today as well. But boy, oh boy, was it a treat. Someone said Enter the Gungeon. We've said it a few times, I think. I'm curious to see, actually, I don't know if you're still here, Apollo, but I feel like it would be fun to see. Well, first of all, I'd love to see your seating of these. It'd be fun to see how your chat handles it as well. Man, Ryan's chat would be absolute chaos for this. But there it is. Our final result. And that'll just be for posterity's sake. We have Darkest Dungeon edging out Enter the Gungeon for third place. There we go. Beautiful. Well, folks, that'll bring us to the final battle. Sorry, hold on. I gotta choose rock battle. That's the only appropriate song for this. As now we have reached our final two. It's Faster Than Light. 2012's Game of the Year, perhaps Game of the Decade, perhaps, as determined by the Baer Pile, the best roguelike ever made. Play Last Stand theme? Okay, hang on. Where's that at? Oh, yeah, here. No, you're right. This is much better. This is definitely the one. FTL. No surprise. As we see it absolutely dominate its competition up to the semifinals. We're, of course, missing the 96-4 result in round one. I love back-to-back can you date the ships questions. We know how the votes are going here. I don't know if FTL actually got Game of the Year. I checked myself on that as soon as I said it out loud. I feel like it probably got a Game of the Year from someone. I'll pretend that I gave it my Game of the Year just to make it accurate. Our number one seed. One of the best roguelikes of all time. FTL. Going up against what is apparently a bad roguelike game. That somehow made it to the finals. In Hades. But also happens to be one of the very best games ever made. Hence the number 2 seed. Hell of a matchup, man. Can we get In the Blood from Hades? Sure, yeah, why not? Sounds good. While we're wrapping things up here. Oh yeah, no, this is a great one for sure. This is perfect. This is absolutely perfect for the end. What a great showing from well, this is a great showing from y'all. Thank you for hanging out with me for this, guys. This entire thing is made a lot less fun without a lot of different people's opinions and voices being heard. So I certainly appreciate the support today. But what a way to end here, man. Absolutely, I feel 2 of the strongest contenders on this list. Duking it out for the end. Let's do it. FTL versus Hades. It's a /vote 1 for FTL. /vote 2 for Hades. Hell, we'll give this one 3 minutes. Really make it intense. Let that vote begin now. 3 minutes left to decide it all. And Mystic Envoy gifting us 10 subs to get the hype train rolling for our final vote. Thank you, Mystic, for the gifties. Appreciate it. Gift notification covers the vote. Oh, that's funny. Whoops. There we go. And you can also use /vote 1, vote for FTL, /vote 2 to vote for Hades. How's it going? FTL off to the early lead.
Welcome to the
Hi, Councilman Zach. Thank you for the gift sub as well. Lots of votes for both so far. As we get through our first minute, it's FTL with a slim lead. Let's get the FTL up on screen for a minute here. I can't interrupt this song, though. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the FTL crowd, but this song is too good to stop now that I've started it. We're listening to this whole damn thing. FTL versus Hades, though, man. I mean, this is definitely the matchup that I most expected to see as we were putting this together. I don't even want to talk. This is so beautiful. Omega Alden. Thank you for the 5 gifted. Welcome to the pile, everybody. Thank you for the support. Final minute of voting. Let your voice be heard now. /vote 1 for FTL. /vote 2 for Hades. The best roguelike /light ever 2022 debate. The time is now. Let your voice be heard in the final moments. Will FTL emerge on top? Or will Hades sneak in for the kill? Approximately 10 seconds left as the final votes trickle in. We see
Gleaming endowment.
a clear victor has emerged. Oh, you can't start this and not let the whole fucking thing play, though. Oh, man. This song's so good. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That'll do it, though. Despite the Hades music playing in full force, it's hilarious that I've decided to allow this to continue to play despite the result. But it is indeed FTL. So, yeah, we got to make the switch. As you can see, as our winner here today will indeed be FTL. And how appropriate. Let's play this. By a final score of 54 to 46. Sorry, 46. It's FTL, ladies and gentlemen. And then we restart from the beginning. And it all comes full circle. Perfect. There's our final result. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner of the best roguelike / roguelite ever 2022 debate. FTL. No big surprise there. That was fun. That was awesome. Thanks a bunch for participating, y'all. I had a really good time doing that today. But let's do... Okay, so we wanted to do this last poll as well, right? So let's do this. Top 4 final poll. So just for fun, this isn't actually going to determine anything. But we mentioned doing this in the beginning. Let's put all of our final 4 contenders into one poll here and see who comes out on top. So there you go. Zach, thanks for the gifty. Thank you guys so much for all the gifted subs, all the resubscriptions today. This was a really fun stream. Appreciate all the support big time. And we'll put this whole thing up on YouTube as well, so if you missed any part of this today, I'll put this whole thing in one big VOD over on YouTube as well. Assuming it doesn't get copyright stricken to death, which it might. But, you know, either way, I'll probably put it up anyway. Lots of fun. We still doing honorable mentions? Feel free. I know if you got one that you want to shout out as well that didn't make the list. I don't actually have... I probably should have kept it. I don't know why I didn't keep it. My list of, like, the extras for honorable mentions that I was going to include, but ultimately didn't. One Step from Eden was definitely on there. Yeah, it's a game, unfortunately, that I haven't actually played a lot of yet, but I've heard so many good things about that game, so I should probably check that out before the next time we do this. And then Gunfire Reborn as well. Yeah, that was another one that was recommended a few times. I should probably check that out, too. Wizard of Legend, really? I've heard kind of mixed things about Wizard of Legend. I should give that another shot. Streets of Rogue, another one for sure. Yeah, definitely need to get Streets of Rogue in the mix at some point. Shout out to Dwarf Fortress. Yeah, I might actually play Dwarf Fortress with the Steam release, because apparently they've got like some updated visuals for it. I might give that a go. Kingsway. I guess that is technically... Yeah, that would fit, huh? Oh, man, I kind of wish I'd included that. That probably would have been another first-round exit, but Kingsway's great, man. I love Kingsway. Monolith is pretty cool as well. I haven't actually heard of that. I'll have to look into that. I've heard good things about NetHack, too, yeah. I'll have to give that a shot. Caves of... Is that Cud, Dopey? Because I've seen that one before, too. I don't actually know a ton about it. Caves of Cud or Cud, I don't know how to say it. Yeah, that one might be worth a look too. So by virtue of the final poll as well, it is indeed Hades. Or sorry, not Hades. FTL coming out on top. Hades in second. And then Gungeon actually overtook Darkest Dungeon in our final poll, but of course that's not really indicative of much. But yeah, that checks out. The final poll looks pretty reflective too of our final result. Thanks for the hype train as well, y'all. Appreciate that a lot. All right. That was terrific.